At 35 years old, gospel singer Jonathan McReynolds has finally had one of the biggest mysteries about his life confirmed. And it didn't come from him. It came from his mother. After years of quiet speculation, whispers in the gospel community, and fans piecing together hints from his music, his mother has stepped forward and revealed what so many had long suspected. This shocking confirmation is more than just personal. It reshapes the way we see Jonathan, his journey, and the challenges he's faced in building a career rooted in faith and transparency. But the real question is, what exactly did she confirm, and why now? Stay with me because the details will leave you stunned. Jonathan McReynolds isn't just another gospel singer. At only 35 years old, he has already become one of the most influential voices of his generation, blending traditional gospel with modern, soul-stirring sounds that have reached far beyond the church pews. His songs like Make Room and People have resonated deeply, not just because of their melodies, but because Jonathan has always been unafraid to be vulnerable, to sing about struggles, questions, and imperfections. But even with all of that openness, there has always been a cloud of curiosity hanging over his personal life. Fans have long asked questions. What really drives Jonathan's lyrics? What challenges has he faced off stage? And why does he protect certain parts of his life so carefully? For years, the answers remained hidden. Jonathan kept his private life guarded, refusing to feed into gossip or speculation. But now, for the very first time, his mother has spoken up, confirming something many people believed but could never prove. And this revelation changes everything. In today's video, we're going to uncover what Jonathan's mother revealed, why this confirmation matters, and how it sheds light on the man behind the music. You'll hear the backstory, the emotional weight of his mother's words, and the ripple effect it could have on his career and legacy. And trust me, this isn't just another story about a gospel artist. It's about faith, family, and the price of honesty in a world that often demands perfection. So stick with me, because as we go deeper into Jonathan's journey, you're going to see sides of him that most people never knew existed. Jonathan Caleb McReynolds wasn't born into fame. His story begins on the south side of Chicago, where music wasn't just a hobby, it was survival. Raised in a single-parent household, Jonathan's mother became the anchor of his life. She nurtured him, disciplined him, and most importantly, believed in his gift even when he couldn't see it himself. Jonathan often speaks about how his mom kept him grounded. She wasn't the kind of mother to push him into the spotlight for attention or fame. Instead, she encouraged him to stay true to himself and his faith. In many ways, the woman we now know for this shocking revelation about Jonathan's life has been the silent architect of his career all along. From an early age, Jonathan showed promise. He wasn't just another kid singing in the choir. His voice carried something, a mix of vulnerability and conviction that made people stop and listen. His mom made sure he stayed rooted in education as well, sending him to Whitney Young High School and later to Columbia College Chicago, where he studied music. While many gospel artists came up through church alone, Jonathan blended his church roots with formal training, giving him a unique sound. But here's where it gets interesting. Jonathan didn't chase fame. In fact, he was hesitant about stepping into the spotlight. His first project, Life Music, was released independently in 2012. He recorded much of it at home with simple equipment, never imagining that it would become the launching pad for his career. Yet, almost overnight, the industry took notice. His songs weren't just catchy. They were deeply personal, reflecting the internal battles that so many people quietly face. Soon after, Jonathan's music began earning him recognition from gospel legends. Artists like Kirk Franklin and CeCe Winans praised his authenticity. He wasn't writing songs to impress. He was writing to heal, to confess, and to connect. And that connection paid off. He went on to win awards, earn Grammy nominations, and perform on global stages, all while staying true to his roots. Still, While Jonathan's professional life soared, his personal life remained largely hidden. Unlike many celebrities who openly shared their relationships, struggles, or even scandals, Jonathan stayed quiet. Fans speculated about his dating life, about what inspired certain lyrics, and about why he chose to keep some things private. But through it all, one person knew the real story: his mother. And her recent confirmation finally answered questions fans had been asking for years. But here's the twist. The story of Jonathan's rise isn't just about music or fame. It's about resilience, sacrifice, and a young man who carried the weight of expectations while trying to remain authentic. His journey sets the stage for understanding why his mother's words today carry so much power. And as we move forward, we'll uncover not just Jonathan's struggles, but the emotional moment when his mother finally broke her silence. What she revealed left fans stunned, and it may just change the way you see Jonathan McReynolds forever. On the surface, Jonathan McReynolds' career has looked like a steady climb upward. The awards, the sold-out shows, the collaborations with gospel legends, and his reputation as the new face of gospel music made it easy to believe that everything in his life was perfect. But as we all know, what happens on stage is often very different from what happens behind the scenes. Jonathan's music gives us subtle glimpses into his reality. Take a closer listen to tracks like Cycles or People. These aren't just creative expressions, they're confessions. In Cycles, Jonathan opens up about the struggles that seem to repeat in his life as if he can't escape certain patterns. And in People, he vulnerably admits how exhausting it can be to live under the expectations of others. These songs struck a chord with millions because they weren't just polished performances, they were cries for understanding. But what many fans didn't realize is that Jonathan was carrying enormous pressure. Pressure from the industry, pressure from the church, and pressure from himself. Being young, successful, and outspoken about faith made him a role model, whether he wanted to be or not. People looked to him as a symbol of purity and strength, yet he was still a man in his 20s figuring out life. Imagine being 23 years old and suddenly placed in the spotlight where every move you make is scrutinized. Fans want you to be transparent, but at the same time, they expect you to be flawless. One mistake, one misstep could overshadow everything you've worked for. That's the kind of pressure Jonathan was facing, and his mother saw it all unfolding in real time. Behind closed doors, Jonathan wrestled with insecurities. Interviews hinted at this. He often admitted that he didn't feel churchy enough for traditional gospel audiences, yet he wasn't secular enough for mainstream markets. He existed in the in-between, trying to carve a space where authenticity mattered more than labels. That middle ground was both his gift and his greatest burden. His mother often became his confidant. She knew his doubts, his frustrations, and the weight he carried when he stepped off stage and returned to silence. While fans saw the polished, confident performer, she saw the son who questioned whether he was good enough, whether he was strong enough, and whether his voice really mattered in the long run. This constant battle took a toll. The very songs that encouraged millions around the world were birthed out of Jonathan's own tears, questions, and late-night conversations with God. And this is where his mother's recent confirmation takes on even deeper meaning. She wasn't just speaking about Jonathan as a gospel star, she was speaking about Jonathan as her son, the man behind the music, the one who had quietly fought battles that most people never knew about. And as you'll see in the next part of this story, her decision to speak publicly wasn't random. It was personal, emotional, and timed for a reason. But here's the shocking twist. What she revealed doesn't just explain Jonathan's struggles, it may completely reshape how fans interpret his songs moving forward. For years, Jonathan McReynolds' mother remained silent in public about her son's personal journey. She watched as fans speculated online, as blogs wrote stories and as interviewers carefully danced around questions that Jonathan himself would never fully answer. But what no one realized was that behind closed doors, she carried truths that only a mother could know, truths that would eventually spill out in one emotional moment that left fans in complete shock. This wasn't just another celebrity family moment. It wasn't about chasing headlines or stirring up gossip. It was about a mother finally choosing to speak from her heart, breaking years of silence because she believed the time had come. During a conversation that quickly spread across social media, Jonathan's mother revealed something fans had long suspected but never confirmed. Her voice trembled as she admitted how difficult it had been watching her son carry so much weight on his shoulders. She spoke about the tears he shed in private, the questions he wrestled with late at night, and the moments where he doubted whether he could continue. But what stood out most was the emotion in her tone. This wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished for cameras. It was raw, unfiltered honesty, the kind of honesty that only a mother could deliver. She admitted that there were seasons in Jonathan's life when the pressure nearly broke him, when the expectations of the world felt unbearable. And then came the part that stunned everyone. She confirmed what fans had whispered about for years, that Jonathan's battles weren't just creative struggles, they were deeply personal, rooted in challenges that shaped both his faith and his music. For Jonathan's mother, sharing this wasn't easy. She was protective of her son, always careful about what the world saw. But in that moment, she chose transparency over silence. She said, "People see the gift, but they don't always see the pain that created it." And that single sentence hit like a thunderbolt. Fans immediately began dissecting her words, connecting the dots between his songs and his life. Suddenly, lyrics that once sounded like poetic reflections now carried a heavier, more personal weight. Songs like Cycles, Loving Me, and Gotta Have You felt less like performances and more like survival notes from someone struggling to hold on. But here's the part that left people speechless. Jonathan's mother didn't share this revelation to spark pity. She shared it to help people understand the cost of greatness. She wanted the world to know that her son's authenticity wasn't manufactured for the stage. It was forged in the fire of real pain, real battles, and real resilience. The confession opened the floodgates. Some fans expressed shock, others expressed empathy, and many praised her for her courage. But as powerful as her words were, they also raised new questions. Why now? Why choose this moment when Jonathan is at the height of his career to reveal something so personal? And here's where the story takes another unexpected turn, because as emotional as her confession was, it wasn't the full story. There's another layer, one that explains why Jonathan's mother felt compelled to finally break her silence after years of protecting him. And trust me, this part will leave you even more stunned. When Jonathan McReynolds' mother finally broke her silence, fans were left wondering one thing: why now? After years of protecting her son's privacy, after decades of keeping his struggles within the family circle, why choose this moment, when Jonathan is at the peak of his influence, to make such a deeply personal confession? The answer lies in timing, and when you unpack the circumstances, the decision begins to make sense. First, Jonathan has reached a pivotal stage in his career. At 35, he's no longer the young newcomer in gospel music. He's established, respected, and even shaping the next generation of artists. His role has shifted from just being a singer to becoming a leader, a voice people look to for wisdom and guidance. With that shift comes even more pressure, and his mother knew that if people were going to follow Jonathan, they needed to understand the man behind the microphone. Her words gave context, showing fans that Jonathan's authority doesn't come from perfection, but from the struggles he has survived. Second, his mother's timing wasn't just about Jonathan's career. It was about the culture. We live in a world where authenticity matters more than ever. Audiences are tired of polished, untouchable images. They want realness, vulnerability, and truth. Jonathan's songs already spoke to this hunger, but his mother's confession took it one step further. It stripped away the last layer of mystery and showed fans that behind the powerful lyrics is a human being who wrestled with pain just like they do. Her revelation tapped directly into this cultural moment. Third, there's the family dynamic. Jonathan has always credited his mother as his anchor, his prayer warrior, and his biggest supporter. For her to finally speak out publicly wasn't an act of betrayal, it was an act of love. She knew that the silence was no longer serving him. Instead, it was creating speculation, allowing rumors to grow unchecked. By speaking her truth, she took control of the narrative and reminded the world that Jonathan's story is one of resilience, not scandal. But there's another layer that few people noticed. Jonathan himself has been more open in recent years. In interviews, he's hinted at struggles with identity, with purpose, and with the weight of expectations. He hasn't gone into detail, but the cracks in the armor were showing. His mother's words seemed to align with this openness, almost as if she was amplifying what he had already started to reveal in his own quiet way. And yet, here's the part that keeps fans on edge. Her confession may also be a form of preparation. Think about it. Jonathan is stepping into a season where his platform is bigger than ever. Could it be that his mother wanted fans to be ready to see the whole picture before Jonathan himself shares even more? Some believe her timing wasn't accidental at all, that it was carefully aligned with what's coming next in Jonathan's life and ministry. So while her confession was shocking, it wasn't random. It was purposeful, emotional, and strategic. But the bigger question remains. What exactly did she confirm that left fans stunned? What truth about Jonathan's journey was finally brought into the light?